All right.
Are you going to go on air?
We're live now. We just went live.
All right, never
Good
mind.
evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's Brushfire Mine. It's 2000 on a Sunday night, and we are about to do this thing. Holy shit. The elections are 2 days away. Tuesday's big day. And let me tell you something. You got to get up and go take care of this. So, like, for example, in Georgia, here, Georgia is hotly contested right now. It is my feeling that Georgia stays red, Kemp takes the office, but it is worth note to look at the way that the campaigning has been going. For example, today, Barack Obama had himself a little campaign rally in Atlanta, but the Trumpster,
Trump's in Macon, right?
yeah, old Donnie Two Scoops is in Macon. So I bear with me just a second. I don't seem to have my chat line up. But yeah, Donald Trump is in Macon today. Had a little rally down. But let me get y'all clear on something. This close, even 2 or 3 weeks ago, nobody's mind is being changed. People know who they're going to vote for. What these rallies are about is not about getting people to vote for your candidate, convincing people which candidate to vote for. People know who they would vote for if they were to go to the polls. The whole point to rallies like this, like Atlanta swings blue. Macon itself swings blue, but the outlying counties around it, and this is true, but not as true of Metro Atlanta as well. But the outlying counties around Macon, they swing heavily red. So what's really going on there? Like I said, nobody's changing their mind on which direction they would vote. What's going on is the candidates are trying to stir up the bases and get them to get up and go out and vote.
Right.
So voter participation is extraordinarily low in this country most of the time. Even this election cycle, we're seeing record turnouts. But you got to understand, record turnouts of voters is like 30% of voters. That amount of participation is just, sad. Let me pull out the pop out chat here. Looks like it's just you chit chatting at us, Rod, so far, but somebody else is watching somewhere. I don't know who that might be, but
show yourself.
Go ahead and chime in if you're watching right now, so I know who you are. And yeah, as far as I don't want to speculate over much about the riots there, Rod, but yeah, I'm ready. Anyway, I mean, I don't want to go off too far on the. I don't want to go off too far into the weeds about how I daydream about riots breaking out of my. I'm okay. I'll be okay.
If you want to go completely into the weeds, I can tell you about a really interesting dream my little brother had the other night that he told me about.
Okay, bring it on.
My brother had a dream, a hyper realistic dream, that he was out walking with his wife and their daughter and walking the dog. And the UN had sponsored hundreds of thousands of sub-Saharan Africans to parachute into his neighborhood. Okay. And it immediately turned the neighborhood into Mogadishu. And it was basically a 28 days later / Dawn of the Dead fight for his life.
He's not downrange having these dreams, is he?
No, this is in suburban Florida.
Okay, so he's not rocking the doxycycline.
No,
because you know that stuff messes with your dreams so bad. After about 3 months in Afghanistan taking that doxycycline, I said, nope, I'd rather have malaria. I chose malaria over those dreams. And I lucked out. I didn't get malaria. But
Yeah.
I was willing to risk it over the
fever dreams. Fever dreams. Yeah.
Madness. Absolute. You would wake up from these dreams that were just over the top. Not just horrifying nightmares, but so real that
Yes.
I woke up from some of those dreams.
Yeah.
And it took me a day or two to really convince myself that it was only a dream.
Yeah. Yeah. Dreams so vivid, as far as your mind is concerned, it happened.
Yeah, and some of those dreams involved stuff like, I had one that at this time I had my eldest daughter was brand new. When I had the dream, she was 3 or 4 months old. Yeah. And I dreamt that I returned from Afghanistan to learn that at some point, several months before I got back, my wife and my infant daughter had been killed in a car accident. And the government decided not to tell me because it would affect mission readiness. And it took me, we happened to be in the middle of a comms blackout at the time, so I couldn't call home and check.
You could not verify that this was false.
And so I was just, even the fact that part of the dream was getting back to America and finding out that, and then being told that the death of my wife and child had been held from me for the sake of the mission, even knowing that was clearly not a thing that had happened because I was still deployed at the time. Even that did not help to clear the it was amazing. It was terrifying. And yes, that's when I chose malaria.
Okay, sorry for the tangent.
Yeah, that's enough tangent. Yeah. So anyway, so the point to all this crap with Will Ferrell and Oprah walking around talking to people and trying to they're trying to get voters who already know who they're going to vote for. They're just trying to beef up the numbers of who actually shows to vote.
Don't forget armed Black Panther patrols. Not that I have a problem with their right to carry, but let it be noted.
I do have a problem with their right to carry in this case, and here's the problem.
Okay.
They are using their right to carry explicitly in support of the removal of the right to carry.
Oh, I know, because Stacey Abrams obviously is anti-2A. I don't even want to know what her rating from the NRA would be. I'm sure it's an F.
Let's see if they give out Z's.
But yes, I did read that argument.
But yeah, she
doesn't have a record. I don't think.
She's called for semi-automatic gun bans. So that's everything.
Correct.
That's everything but black powder rifles. And there's an article running around Facebook now where she's saying that that people will have to turn in their guns.
Yep, I saw that as well.
Yeah, come get them. Come and get them. That's all I can say to that.
It really is. There's only one scenario where I could ever see myself basically shooting a cop, and they come to my door and try to take the weapons.
Also, let's take a quick look at the weather. Rod mentioned severe weather for Atlanta on Tuesday. If that's the case, then it's a lock. I'd say I hate to be cruel, but
No, be as callous as you'd like.
but
I don't care.
I don't hate to be cruel. Not when I'm speaking truth. Um, let's see what the report looks like for Tuesday. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Variable clouds, breezy, humid, a shower and thunderstorms in the morning. Shower and thunderstorms in the evening. All right. Brian Kemp wins. That ain't hard. I'm sorry, that ain't hard. I mean, when you've got a job and
you got to work. Yeah.
Car, it's easier to vote in the rain.
Yep.
Hmm.
The intentionally unemployed won't be making it this election, and that's a good thing. The intention.
Yeah, buddy. Okay, so let's talk about the Second Amendment. And the reason we're talking about the Second Amendment tonight is, well, the caravan. Oh, there it is. Mine's actually upstairs. And by upstairs, I mean it's at the top of the stairs right behind me. That is a sexy little rifle you got there. What you got there?
Colt M4. Basically, it's exactly what you had in the military, with the extended rifle guardrail.
Oh, you got those Magpul pop-up sights. I love them.
Got the metal. They're not plastic. These are metal. Metal Magpul pop-up iron sights. Zeroed, of course. Got my Spark AR optic. And let's see. Nice thing about this optic is, yes, of course, it's a red dot, but also the iron sights are viewed perfectly through the portal. So
that is a sexy piece of hardware right there.
Magpul 30 round, of course. This is Florida. Yep. It's a Colt.
I've still got like 2 dozen or so of the 5.56 magazines that were issued to me.
Oh, we got those too. We got those too. CIF didn't want them. Hey.
Yeah, I know. I tried to turn them in, right?
I'll take them.
I actually did try to return them to the Army.
I mean, they're kind of crappy, but I know all about crappy military issue magazines. Exactly how to slap them to get them to work.
No sons of bitches charged me $50 for a canteen cup I couldn't find. I gave them 2. They said I had been issued 3. I'm like, why the hell would I have 3 canteen cups? Turns out I did have a third canteen cup. I did find it later, but they charged me for it. But they didn't want the magazines.
They tried to charge me for not turning in 4 sets of fracus that I got in Iraq. Fracus. Yeah, exactly.
That's expendable.
Yes. I went to an authority greater than that CIF and got it removed.
That's 100% expendable.
Exactly. It's insanity. They wanted $475 for it. I mean, come on.
Jesus.
No. Anyway, I'm ruining your show. Sorry. Second Amendment. Yeah.
So there's an article in the Washington Post that we gonna have to talk about, and there it is. There we go. Now it's just the article. It should be just the article coming across your screens now. Okay, U.S. military groups to head to border stirred by Trump's call to arms. Now, here's what we're talking about. What they want us to believe is that these are groups of just madman vigilantes. In fact, they use the word vigilante in here several times. And I want to talk about why this is incorrect. Uh, Gun carrying civilian groups and border vigilantes have heard a call to arms in Trump's warnings about threats to American security posed by caravans of Central American migrants moving through Mexico. So,
first of all, is this an editorial or is this hard news?
It's the Washington Post.
It's undefined. Gotcha.
The entire paper is an editorial.
Correct.
In fact, I could make a pretty solid argument that there are no hard news. There are only editorials now.
Yeah.
I think that's a pretty reasonable statement.
No,
there are only editorials.
Yeah.
I do like that they mentioned that they've got drones.
Yeah.
They're rocking drones. Hells yeah. Okay. Oh, Julie's trying to send a comment to Felicia. Fee's off handling some business. She'll be back in a little bit. Girl Scout stuff. So she's not actually watching with us yet, Julie. But I'll let her know you were thinking about her. I have the extra large cup of coffee tonight, so I should be okay. So we'll observe and report and offer any aid that we can. Said a member of the Texas Minutemen. So here's what I want to get into. The Second Amendment says a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free nation. The right to keep and bear arms, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. So let's talk about what a well-regulated militia means. The Democrats would have you believe that a well-regulated militia means only the police and the military. Of course, at the time of the founding, the phrase well-regulated referred often, for example, if a liberal education has formed in us well-regulated appetites and worthy inclinations. The practice of a well-regulated courts of justice in the world. The equation of time is the adjustment of the difference of time as shown by a well-regulated clock dial. A reminiscence for which I am sure every well-regulated person will blame the mayor. It appeared to her well-regulated mind like a clandestine proceeding. The newspaper, a never wanting adjunct to every well-regulated American embryo city. The phrase well-regulated was commonplace long before 1789 and for many, many years afterward. And it means, very clearly it meant, a thing which was calibrated correctly, functioning as intended. Okay? The phrase well-regulated has nothing to do with government oversight or government control or interpretation. Now, the founders were also quite clear on what it is to be part of the well-regulated militia. The well-regulated militia includes, at the time of the founding, the regular army, which in the language, the parlance of the day, the regular army referred to the entire military, the Army and the Navy. While the Navy was a separate branch, it wasn't listed and referred to separately until the Dick Act, which that's 1903, 02. I pulled it up earlier. I'll double check it again in a minute. Anyway, and the links to all the reference links will be in the description in just a minute. Uh, so at the time of the founding, and then later with the Militia Act, and then codified finally with the unrepealable Dick Act, the definition of the well regulated militia is the regular army, which is later explicitly meant to include also the National Guard, the Reserve, um, and all the other branches of the military, the sister services. The sister services. The individual state militias, which were later by the Dick Act codified into the separate National Guard the state guard groups, and the individual militias, and what they refer to as the unorganized militia. The unorganized militia, not the unregulated, as they suggest in as this liar Mary Lee Grant and Nick Miroff yesterday. So this article is from yesterday. They use the phrase unregulated. Well, that's just not a thing. There is, however, a thing that is provided for in the language around the well-regulated militia, referred to as the unorganized militia, which includes all able-bodied men between the ages of 17 and 45. Every able-bodied male between the ages of 17 and 45. That was amended with the Dick Act to include female volunteer members of the National Guard. So, under the law in the United States of America, if you are a male between 17 and 45, you're supposed to own a rifle. You not only have the right to keep and bear that arm, you have a responsibility to do so.
Yep.
And not only to own it, but to keep it well regulated, to keep it in good working order. That is part of what it means to be an American.
Yep.
Now, of course, that expectation, that responsibility, that requirement has not been extended to women generally by the law, because, of course, when women began demanding equal rights, sorry, Julie, but this is the truth. They demanded the right to vote, but they sure as hell weren't interested in carrying fire buckets for the brigade or signing up for the draft. And that's a whole nother rabbit hole. But the fact of the matter is that at the time of the suffragettes, women, by a large majority, were opposed to trying to chase the right to vote, precisely because they did not want to get involved in the draft, in the military, or in the bucket brigades, and a few other things that were considered to be exclusively the responsibilities of men. That is not me saying that I don't think women should have the right to vote, but I do think that when you talk about equal rights, you ought to have a little historical perspective and understand what you're really talking about. We'll go on with this article a bit. We'll observe and report and offer aid in any way we can, said Shannon McGauley, a bail bondsman in the Dallas suburbs who is president of the Texas Minutemen. Now, the Texas Minutemen, now you're talking about unorganized militia. That means that they are not, as far as unorganized militia goes, that means that they are not the regular army. Excuse me. They are not the regular army or the National Guard, but they are a fully authorized militia. Any group of men who gets together and calls themselves a militia in the United States is, in fact, a militia, and by definition, well regulated. I'm sure you can make some arguments as to how well regulated you think a militia ought to be, how much they ought to work together. But what a lot of civilians don't understand, and especially people who look down on the idea of a local or state militia, these militias are well trained. In most cases, they've got at least several Like a bulk of their membership includes several veterans. And you're talking about civilians who keep their arms in good order, and they drill together like a reserve unit, once or twice a month. In some cases, some of them drill 2 or 3 times a month, and they do flipping 2 and 3 and 4 week field training exercises once or twice a year. They're not playing around.
I'll be joining one in a few weeks when I move to Michigan.
Cool. Oh, Cameron's watching now. Hells yeah. So just real quick, Cameron, I know this is going to take a second to get to you. We lag a little bit over here from the chat, but did you read this article that we're looking at? I texted it to you earlier. Just let me know if you read it already. Trump has insisted that unknown Middle Easterners, very tough fighters, and large numbers of violent criminals are traveling among the women, children, and families heading north on foot. Okay, I don't. They don't bother to. They don't bother to rebut the statement or offer evidence against. Yes, Julie, that's correct. The military, not some branches, especially the Army. The Army has the hardest time out of all three branches. The Army has the hardest time out of all three branches in recruiting, because for the Marine Corps, the vast majority of their recruits come through some sort of a family tradition type of thing. It's my dad was a Marine, his dad was a Marine, blah, blah, blah. Get a lot of family tradition recruits in the Marine Corps. The Navy and the Air Force get a lot more of the cats that are looking for just a free ride to college. And it makes a lot of sense. If what you want to do is get your college paid for, then the Air Force is your safest bet. And frankly, they pay better. I mean, right, Mario, how many Air Force buddies have you had that they're just constantly on TDY and racking up exorbitantly high per diem pay?
They're America's elite, they're America's elite welfare recipients.
The chair force on a steady diet of Pop-Tarts and throw pillows. But anyway, yeah, the Air Force and the Navy both are at least have the public perception of being much more technology oriented, and in some ways that's true. We really can't go into the particulars on that, but the army basically just about has to knock on a door and ask for every signature they collect to recruit soldiers into the military. So the Army is the one that has the most trouble with the mission.
Join the Army. We promise you bad times with no glory.
So back to the article. They use this language here. What Trump has called an invasion, as thousands of Central American migrants. No, this sentence is not. This sentence is not a matter of opinion that I disagree with. This sentence is a blatant falsehood. Now, this is true. Magali and others have been roused by the president's call to restore order and defend the country. And it is true that Trump has called it an invasion. The idea that these people are migrants, that's a lie. And I'll get into that a little bit more. And to put an invasion in scare quotes
Yep.
right next to the word thousands. I mean, okay. So here's what is relevant here. Here's what you need to know. We're talking about, yes, we're talking about thousands of people. Let me look up I meant to pull this up earlier. The Geneva Convention
on refugees. Yeah, they're supposed to stop and apply for asylum in Mexico. This is known.
Yeah, instead of I'll pull up a link and put it in the description later. So
it's common knowledge. It's common knowledge.
Do what?
It's common knowledge. And like migrant is literally a created word. All migrant means is someone who's going from one place to another. You know what I mean? Like it's not even a legal that definition has no legal bearing. Okay, in international law, there's no legal protection for someone who's a migrant. There's protection for people who are refugees and asylum seekers, but that's it.
Well, in the original use of the word migrant, as in migrant workers, it was essentially
temporary.
The word means vagrant with a job. Mm-hmm. The idea was that you work on such and such a farm until the season ends, and then you move to where there's another season.
Yeah.
But as a rule, idiomatically and biologically, humans do not migrate. They immigrate or they emigrate. They move into or out of. So, yep, we're about to get to the thing about the visas. So yeah, Cameron, we'll catch up with you in a minute. Anyway, so because these guys did, several of them applied for, apparently there were like 1,200 applications for refugee status in Mexico, and Mexico has offered blanket refugee status to the entire caravan and been very clear that the offer of refugee status is intended to be construed as a first step toward permanent residency. So, and we'll go with Mario. It's what's called common knowledge on the Geneva Conventions. The expectation when you are fleeing a war-torn country, when you are trying to run away because your life is in peril from a country torn by war, then the expectation is that you are going to seek refuge, you are going to seek asylum in the next proximate location. You do not leave country A and run to country W. No, you go from country A to country B. If your war covers country A, B, and C, then you can go to country D. The fact that Mexico, which is not, I might add, the next proximate country to that from which they flee, but it is a country in their path. Mexico has offered them refugee status, jobs, and a path to permanent residency, and they have flatly refused it.
Yep.
They are not refugees. Not one of them is a legitimate asylum seeker. If they were, they would have accepted asylum in the next proximate nation. And that they haven't means that they are not fleeing out of desperation from violence, which is not to say that these people are not desperate. They clearly are. They clearly do have desperation. But they sure as hell aren't desperate to find a job because they were offered one. They were all offered entry into work programs and not a path to citizenship, but a path to permanent residency in Mexico. So what else can you call that but an invasion? They're moving north, refusing to accept offers of aid from the several countries that they're crossing through on their way to the United States, with the explicit intention of applying for. Now, I do believe that they will, that a large number of them will present themselves to a port of entry and apply for asylum. I suspect that's going to happen. Now, the fact of the matter, though, is that the mere fact that they have already refused asylum from another host nation should invalidate all of their applications. Every one of those applications should be turned down, precisely because they refused to accept asylum in a previous nation. Now, back to the unorganized militia. The unorganized militia includes every male between the ages of 17 and 45, and you are expected between the ages of 17 and 45 to own a firearm, to know how to operate it, and to keep it well regulated, to keep it clean, to keep it functioning, to keep it in operation. And frankly, precisely for reasons like this. The founders wanted a well-regulated militia, even among the organized militia, precisely so that the people of the United States of America could defend their nation from the ravages of hostile foreign invaders. So, number 10, U.S. Code 246, militia composition and classes. Militia of the United States consists of all able-bodied males at least 17 years of age and, except as provided in Section 313 and Title 32, under 45 years of age, who are or have made a declaration of intention to become citizens of the United States, and female citizens of the United States who are members of the National Guard. Now, let me read that one bit again real quick. Who are or who have made a declaration of intention to become citizens of the United States. So the Second Amendment extends under the law to people who have entered the process of attaining citizenship. The expectation there, and this goes to, we'll talk about the 14th Amendment and the question of jurisdiction a little bit in just a minute. So once you've declared an intent, once you've declared the intent to become a citizen, you've entered the process of getting citizenship. You are voluntarily offering fealty to the jurisdiction of the United States of America, at which point you are expected under the law. You're part of the militia. And then, of course, there's the classes of the militia. Organized militia, which consists of the National Guard, the Naval Militia, the unorganized militia, which consists of the members of the militia who are not members of the National Guard or the Naval Militia. So basically, there's the regular army, there's the regular military unit, and that's the organized militia. And then there's the entire rest of the male population, which is the unorganized militia. But as to the idea that there is an unregulated militia, I know I beat this horse to death, so I'll move off of it. You getting bored there, Mario?
I understand what you're saying.
So, can't put a number to how many guys are headed down there. Good Lord, it's already 8:45. We've been at it. So here we go. And yet the prospect of armed vigilantes showing up beside thousands of U.S. troops, or border patrol agents, police officers, and migrants, there's that word again, migrants, is considered serious enough that military planners have issued warnings. Let's see. Army assessment of migrant caravans undermines Trump's rhetoric. Okay, we don't have time to go into how wrong this is. Oh, wow. I didn't even see that. Wow, look at that soy boy.
Nick Miroff, 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 Miroff.
He's a Russian. Ho, 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 ho. Oh man, I just hadn't seen the picture.
Yeah, Russian.
It says that they've issued warnings to Army commanders. And okay, that just goes to this. It doesn't actually say anything about the warnings. It just goes to another article. They operate under the guise of civilian control patrols. While warning
who are you to say? Like who?
While warning of incidents of unregulated militias stealing National Guard equipment during deployments. I would really like to see the words unregulated militia in an official U.S. military document, because that is not correct. That is law. That is legally incorrect. So,
the military report provided no further details about the alleged theft. So
right, no details. So not only the article, but they're citing a report that includes no information.
Correct.
What?
It's a standard government report. It contains no information. I used to write them. It's okay.
Well, I think at a minimum, the Washington Post owes a retraction right here. They owe a retraction and an apology to the unorganized militia that they're maligning. We don't have any specific information about the militias.
But we heard they steal stuff. But
we've seen them in the past, and when things start getting really busy, we have to make sure to let the community know they're out there.
There's nothing factual in that statement.
Yeah, there's nothing factual in this article.
Absolute hearsay.
So, several landowners in the area said they do not want the militias around. Well, yeah, you can find a Democrat.
Cherry picked. Got it.
Cherry pick a Democrat anywhere you want to go.
Yeah.
You're in Texas. I guarantee you that for every quote landowner, that you find, you're going to find somebody that says, "Oh no, I'd be more than happy to let these boys pitch tents in my yard, and I'll feed them too."
They found the guy with the Beto sign on his front yard. They interviewed him as an example of the community. They've get to the last guy. The last guy they talked to, the one who actually tells the truth.
Is all the way at the bottom.
Yeah, it's the last guy.
Once they get on U.S. soil, they need to be stopped and detained. We don't have enough border patrol, ICE, and highway patrol to handle.
It's Kleberg. Yeah, Kleberg. Stephen J. T.O. Kleberg. Most of his life in King's Ranch. Will allow the militia groups onto his ranch, which is large in the state of Rhode Island. Basically, they're making him a turn of the century kingpin. Some kind of evil character out of Dallas is what this man is, obviously.
Well, he's the only one that
he wears a bushy handlebar mustache and chews an unlit cigar. He's Boss Hogg. Obviously, he's racist. I think they're dog whistling. I think. Well, now see here, spin around, boy. We don't have no migrants on my property. So 5 fingers on the fender, boy.
I had wanted to get into some stuff about the 14th Amendment as well, but we're already at 10 minutes out, so it's too late to get started on another topic. And the Mario is already signaling that it's smoky time. Well, you must be sitting out on the back porch.
You know it's smoky time. 14th Amendment's a good topic. I looked into it myself, and I didn't realize. I thought that it was basically, I know the intent of the 14th Amendment. It was designed to give citizenship to the freed slaves, and it was designed to give citizenship to people who are born in this country who basically don't owe any foreign allegiance. You know what I mean? Like they're not citizens of another country, right?
Right. And okay,
Which is why the Native Americans were not given citizenship in the 14th Amendment. They had to be given it with a separate act, right?
right.
So what I always thought was that as an unfortunate consequence of like our British common law system, because there was a legal precedent set by a previous court several times, that's how we got to where we are with the birthright citizenship. But I looked further into the actual cases that get cited as, the post 14th Amendment ruling as legal justification for birthright citizenship, and it turns out that's not even true at all. Like it was invented out of whole cloth in a footnote from a liberal Supreme Court justice.
And here's
literally it's straight up from a footnote from a case from 1983. That's how we get birthright citizenship.
It's 1982, but
yeah, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, it's what's called dictum. And here's the thing: the footnote reads this liberal activist shitburger literally says these words.
Was it Brennan? What was his name?
I can't think of it off the top of my head right now. But the footnote reads essentially, there is not a plausible distinction between a person present in this country legally and a person who is present in this country illegally. But you just stated that you just stated the distinction. One is present legally and one is present illegally.
You're the judge, sir. That's your job.
And you're a Supreme Court justice and you can't manage basic syllogisms. Your statement is syllogistically incorrect. If A does not equal B, then A does not equal B. If your argument is A / equal B over, therefore, A dot B, that's what we call invalid. It's syllogistically invalid. It's like saying Joe is a bachelor, therefore Joe is married. No, the definition is incorrect. If Joe is married, he is not a bachelor. So if a person is present legally, they are clearly distinct from a person who is present illegally. And there is a very clear, bright line of distinction between entering the country with permission to do so, declaring allegiance, and entering into the application process to become a citizen, which I might add cost less money than an annual pass to Disneyland. United States of American citizenship cost less money than an annual pass to Disneyland. $697. It's like $1,200 for the freaking annual fun time pass per person. But the process is so expensive and long. Oh, well, okay, the process is long. Yes. It takes a long time to go through the process of getting citizenship in the United States.
You have no right. You have no right
because
you have no human right to
everybody wants in.
Living in white people countries is not a human right.
Yeah, that was a little much. So, yeah, there are three cases which directly reference the 14th Amendment. In the first one, it was the question of a Native American born on the reservation, and this was shortly after the 14th Amendment was passed, and the decision was made that he was not subject to the jurisdiction of the United States, and so not a citizen. And part of the ramification of that decision was that the nation, the Indian nation that he belonged to, was responsible for enforcing the law where he was concerned. I haven't read that case in a while, so I'll have to go back and read up on that. The other one was Kemwong Park, and that was where two Asians they were not citizens, but they were lawfully present. They were here on essentially, it was before we had work visas, but essentially they were here on
that was it.
On the contemporary equivalent of work visas. They were lawfully present in the United States. They applied for permission to be here, and so it was determined that because they had voluntarily subjected themselves to fealty to the jurisdiction of the United States government, that their child was therefore also subject to that jurisdiction, and by that dent was a citizen. But that said nothing about a person who was criminally present in the nation. And then finally, there's the 1982 case that we just talked about. And
hold up. The point being that they were legally present, which
correct.
invalidates the birthright citizenship for illegals.
Yes. And of course, in the literature, let me finish. In the 1982 case, the question that brought the case was that the state of Texas was arguing that they were not responsible for providing education to criminal aliens. The Supreme Court actually determined that they were responsible for providing education to criminal aliens, but that did not directly reference the 14th Amendment until the dictum at the end, the footnote, which is external to the actual finding. It's external to the case and the precedent set by the case, and external to the assent. But that footnote is the thing that is referenced in precedent to claim to kind of make up this idea of birthright citizenship, and as you said, out of whole cloth.
We live in a legal fantasy land. Okay, it's legal fantasy land. That's all it is, Larry. Don't try to understand it. You'll go mad. Because it really doesn't make any sense.
But it's worse than that. Here's the thing, though. Even the dictum doesn't actually reference the 14th Amendment or say that being born in the United States makes you a citizen, no matter your legal status. Even the dictum that is referenced, which we were discussing just a moment ago, does not actually make the case for birthright citizenship in this nation.
I think the point is, I would really like to see Trump sign that executive order, because I want the Ninth Circuit to immediately put an injunction against it, and I want it to go to the Supreme Court. Absolutely. I want a damn ruling on this thing. I want a ruling.
I want an absolute media circus on this thing.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you why. I want a huge media circus on this thing, because I want it not only to be ruled upon by the Supreme Court in its current configuration, which is very much an essential guarantee to the end of the birthright citizenship, but I want the nail in the coffin of birthright citizenship to be such a media circus that it's essentially a public service announcement to the entire world. Stop with the anchor babies. We're not going to feed them anymore.
Yep.
There are more than 300,000 anchor babies born in this country every year.
It's not just Mexicans and Latin Americans. It's literally the entire world.
Yeah. Well, one of the big problems
anyone in the world with the means to do so wants their child to be born here.
Well, we have this,
so that they can later claim their right to be here.
We have a problem with this thing called birthright tourism, where wealthy foreigners come and stay in a hotel specifically so that they can drop a baby, and that baby and the baby ends up with dual citizenship.
Yeah.
And we've got people doing that. That's not something where we're getting bad guys from the third world. That's something where
it's wealthy Chinese.
Yeah,
wealthy Chinese, wealthy German,
Russians, wealthy Gulf states. Exactly, and they get these. They get a huge boost out of being. They're wealthy, and now they have access, and they've taken that access away from an American citizen.
One of the nice things about the previous legal precedent set was that we have, in the past, in a Supreme Court case, they actually, after the fact, basically removed the citizenship from people who had previously had citizenship based on a ruling. So essentially, if if the Supreme Court rules in our favor that birthright citizenship is not a thing, then the citizenship of these people could in fact be retracted, which would be amazing. That would be slam dunk, 100% win. Basically, when your birth certificate, if it says parents and it lists citizenship as Mexican or foreign country, you are hereby no longer a citizen. It has been done in the past. It can be done again, legally. I don't remember the case. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
It was done. No, it was done. It was done to a Native American. Basically, they
Right.
I forgot the case, but yeah, they're like, no, you're not a citizen of the United States. You're a citizen of the Navajo Nation or whatever. And his citizenship of the United States was canceled.
Cameron says he loves the Schadenfreude. I agree.
He said what?
Cameron says he loves the Schadenfreude of this conversation. I agree. But ladies and gentlemen, that is it's 2100. I have to call it a night. For one, I still have work to do. So it's been a good conversation. Let me know in the comments what you guys think of the article read-throughs and responses that we've been doing the past few weeks. And until next week, remember, if you build a man a fire, you'll keep him warm for the evening. But if you set a man on fire, he'll be warm for the rest of his life. Now get out there, get up off your duff, get out there and vote red down the ticket, because we cannot afford.
But Lowry, everyone from Charlottesville is going to the border. You didn't even mention that they worked the whole white nationalist theme into the friggin' Washington Post article. Like, they couldn't help themselves. They couldn't help it. But this is a different topic. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's a whole other topic. Yes, you can be a nationalist without being a white nationalist. You ever heard of Wakanda? Good night.